Welcome back to Unknown Facts, where we dive into the wildest true stories you've never heard. Today we're back with part 2 of our epic neighbor revenge series. We all know neighbors can be a blessing or a curse. Some lend you sugar, others test your patience and your property lines. This episode, 9 more jaw-dropping tales of everyday people who got creative when pushed too far. Forget simple squabbles. These are stories of elaborate pranks, petty payback, and suburban warfare. If you've ever dreamed of getting even with a noisy or nosy neighbor, you'll want to take notes. So grab your popcorn, hit subscribe, and get ready for another round of neighborly chaos. Let's jump right in. Our first story lands in a quiet cul-de-sac where the lawns are as manicured as the reputations of the people who live there. It's the kind of place where every blade of grass seems to matter, and neighbors keep a watchful eye on each other's yards. Here, Dave's laid-back attitude clashed spectacularly with Mr. Grumbles' obsession over his perfect lawn. Dave just wanted to enjoy his weekends, but Mr. Grumbles treated his grass like a sacred relic. Mr. Grumbles nitpicked everything: kids' laughter, grass height, even the exact minute Dave dared to mow. He'd measure the grass with a ruler and scold anyone who stepped a toe out of line. After months of passive-aggressive notes, lectures, and icy glares, Dave finally snapped when a frisbee barely grazed Mr. Grumbles' precious grass, sparking yet another overblown confrontation. That night, fueled by frustration and a dash of mischief, Dave took his lawnmower and, under cover of darkness, carved a giant, unmistakable phallic symbol into Mr. Grumbles' prized turf, a masterpiece for all to see. The next morning, the neighborhood erupted in laughter. People gathered on sidewalks, snapping photos and exchanging stories about the bold act of rebellion. Mr. Grumbles was mortified, his face redder than a stop sign, but he couldn't call the cops without inviting even more embarrassment. He spent hours trying to erase the evidence, raking, reseeding, and scrubbing, but the image, and the story, stuck around much longer than he hoped. After that, Mr. Grumbles toned down his complaints, finally learning that sometimes it's better to let the little things go. Dave? He finally enjoyed his coffee in peace, savoring the quiet mornings he'd always wanted. Sometimes the best revenge is a little landscaping creativity, turning frustration into art and conflict into comedy, and a sense of humor, which, in this neighborhood, proved to be the most powerful tool of all. The neighborhood never looked at Mr. Grumbles' lawn the same way again. It became a legend, whispered about at block parties for years. Dave's message was clear: push your neighbor too far and you might just get a masterpiece. Revenge, mode to perfection, and a story for the ages. On to the next story. Sarah and Tom's neighborly relationship had always been cordial until a simple wooden fence drove a wedge between them. It started innocently enough. Sarah wanted to spruce up the shared fence with a fresh coat of paint, hoping to brighten up their adjoining backyards, but Tom, ever the traditionalist, flatly refused, insisting the fence was fine as it was. Things took a turn for the worse when Tom's neglected panel finally gave way, crashing right into Sarah's carefully tended rose bushes. Instead of apologizing or offering to fix it, Tom just shrugged, acting as if it was no big deal. Fed up with Tom's indifference, Sarah marched to the hardware store and picked out the brightest, most blinding fluorescent pink paint she could find, something that would be impossible to ignore. She spent the afternoon coating her side of the fence in radioactive pink, making sure every inch was visible from Tom's patio. The color was so intense it practically glowed in the sunlight, impossible to miss. Tom's outrage was instant and loud. He stormed over, threatening to sue for what he called visual harassment, claiming the color was an assault on his eyes and his property value. But Sarah just smiled, cool as ever, and reminded him, her side, her rules. She had every right to paint her property however she liked. The pink fence stayed, standing out like a neon sign, a daily reminder that stubbornness can have eye-searing, unforgettable consequences for everyone involved. After that, Tom never uttered another complaint about the fence. He simply learned to live with the new, vibrant view. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or angry, it's a splash of color that speaks for itself. And of course, a little bit of pettiness goes a long way in neighborhood disputes. The neighborhood buzzed about the pink wall for months, with everyone weighing in on who was right and who was wrong. Meanwhile, Sarah's roses never looked better, their colors popping against that neon backdrop, making her garden the talk of the block. In the end, Tom learned that sometimes compromise is better than a constant headache. Lesson painted, feud finished, next up, musical mayhem. Brenda cherished her quiet mornings, but her neighbor Mark's late-night parties made sleep impossible. After polite requests failed, Brenda plotted her revenge. A 6 a.m. polka music wake-up call. She blasted polka party power hits through the shared wall, accordion and tuba at full volume. Mark, hungover and furious, pounded on her door. Brenda, all innocence, asked if it was too loud. Just like his music at 2 a.m., message received. Mark's parties got quieter, and Brenda finally slept soundly. Sometimes the best payback is a cheerful papa. Polka, the unexpected weapon of neighborly justice. Mark never underestimated Brenda again. Peace, restored by the power of the accordion. On to the next battle. Liam's neighbor Chad kept stealing his assigned parking spot, ignoring notes and HOA warnings. After one too many late-night inconveniences, Liam got creative. He barricaded Chad's car with trash bins and traffic cones, making it impossible to leave without a public spectacle. Chad, red-faced and embarrassed, had to dismantle the barricade in front of the whole complex. He never parked in Liam's spot again. Sometimes a well-placed trash can says more than words. Liam reclaimed his parking and his dignity. The other neighbors cheered the silent victory. Chad learned respect the lines or face the cones. Parking justice served cold. Revenge can be as simple as a little creative blocking. Next, a garden war with a twist. Carol's neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, criticized every detail of Carol's garden. After one too many unsolicited comments, Carol decided to fight back, with garden gnomes. She ordered dozens, arranging them to stare directly at Mrs. Henderson's window. Each day, more gnomes appeared, their painted eyes silently judging. Mrs. Henderson grew visibly uncomfortable, eventually avoiding her own window. The critique stopped. Carol's gnome army won the war without a word. Sometimes the best revenge is a silent, smiling army. The neighborhood loved the spectacle. Mrs. Henderson learned, don't start a garden war you can't win. Carol found peace, and a new appreciation for kitsch. Gnomes, the ultimate passive-aggressive statement. On to the next petty masterpiece. Arthur's neighbor Bob kept borrowing his trash cans, despite labels and polite reminders. Arthur's solution? Subtle chaos. Each week, he'd swap one of Bob's cans with his own after trash day. Bob soon found himself with mismatched bins, missing lids, and endless confusion. He blamed the garbage men, called the city, and muttered to anyone who'd listen. Arthur watched, amused, as Bob's trash day became a weekly puzzle. The beauty? Total deniability. Bob never figured it out, and Arthur enjoyed a small private victory. Sometimes the best revenge is just a little confusion. Trash can justice delivered quietly. Next, a prank that hits home, literally. Mr. Henderson and Mr. Peterson's rivalry exploded after a heated dispute over a tree that straddled their property line. What started as a simple disagreement about overhanging branches quickly spiraled into a full-blown neighborhood spectacle. Peterson, determined to get the last laugh, decided on a prank for the ages. Late one evening, he stealthily planted a fake for sale sign on Henderson's front lawn, complete with a made-up realty company and a phony phone number that led to nowhere. By sunrise, the neighborhood was buzzing. Curious neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, whispering and speculating about Henderson's sudden plans to move. Some even started calling the number, only to be met with confusion. Henderson, both furious and mortified, found himself at the center of unwanted attention. He had to deny the swirling rumors and, red-faced, tear down the sign in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Peterson watched the chaos unfold from his window, savoring every moment of the confusion he'd orchestrated. The prank caused maximum confusion and humiliation, without crossing any legal lines. Neighbors debated the story for days, unsure what to believe. Henderson's pride took a hit, and the feud, once fiery, cooled off as he realized he'd been outwitted. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or destructive, it's psychological, and it lingers long after the prank is over. The infamous sign quickly became a neighborhood legend, retold at block parties and over backyard fences for years to come. From that day forward, Henderson never underestimated Peterson's creativity or his flair for mischief. A little mischief, a lot of satisfaction, Peterson's victory was sweet, and he knew it. The rivalry lost its sharp edge, replaced by a wary, almost respectful truce between the two men. Peterson's prank was simple, effective, and absolutely unforgettable. A masterstroke in neighborly one-upmanship. Sometimes the pen, and a fake sign, is mightier than the saw, especially when it comes to settling suburban scores. But in this neighborhood, the next chapter was just around the corner. A storm of leaves was about to begin. Gary's pristine yard was constantly buried by Susan's falling leaves. After years of polite requests and broken promises, Gary snapped. Armed with a leaf blower, he returned every single leaf, plus a few extras, right onto Susan's lawn. He piled them high, blocking her walkway in a leafy barricade. Susan, stunned, finally realized Gary's frustration. After a heated exchange, she started raking her own yard. Sometimes you have to return the favor, literally. Gary's leaf offensive cleared the air and the property line. The neighborhood watched, amused, as peace was restored. Susan learned, neglect has consequences. Gary's patience paid off, with a little help from a leaf blower. Next, a holiday feud that lights up the block. The Parkers and the Joneses' friendly holiday decorating rivalry turned fierce. After a minor dispute, Mr. Parker went all out, buying every light, inflatable, and singing decoration he could find. His house became a blinding musical spectacle, outshining the Joneses and annoying the entire street. The Joneses' home was bathed in constant flickering light, impossible to ignore. Complaints rolled in, but Mr. Parker claimed innocent holiday spirit. The war of wattage became neighborhood legend. The Joneses invested in blackout curtains. Mr. Parker's electric bill soared, but his victory was undeniable. Sometimes festive cheer is a weapon. The rivalry cooled, but the story lived on. Holiday lights, not just for joy, but for domination. The block would never forget the year Christmas went nuclear. One last word before we go. There you have it, 9 more reasons to bake your neighbors a pie, or at least think twice before starting a feud. The creativity, the pettiness, the sheer dedication, neighborly revenge is truly an art form. Could you pull off something like this? Maybe. Should you? That's between you, your conscience, and maybe your lawyer. Remember, behind every picket fence a silent war might be brewing. Hit subscribe for more unbelievable stories, and hey, be nice to your neighbors. Or don't, but if you get creative, you know where to find us. Good night, and try not to end up as our next story, unless it's a really good one.